Jamie, are you ready?
So anyway, I was thinking. Okay, don't leave me. Just okay. I'll be right. No, it's okay. We don't need the sun to stand still today. Anyway, I'm good. Anyway, um, I've been waking up a lot of mornings shaky, and then, as I told some of you out there, I realized I've been living the last 3 weeks on coffee. Is this good? Adrenaline, the word, chapstick, and sometimes water, and whatever my children, want to feed me that day. So anyway, I don't want to talk a long time. I want to thank everyone for being here today. You came to honor Rick and our family, but we want you to know that we want to honor you for coming to supporting us. Rick he loved this town. He loved so many of you. He loved going out and about every day, going to the job, meeting people. And then he had his family here. It was, Rick loved life. He loved it to the fullest. So anyway, I'm going to put my glasses on. The last couple years, especially after Rick was a motorhead and an adrenaline addict for most of his life, he had a hard time hearing, and then I was having a hard time seeing, so we were perfect together. Anyway, I also want to thank all the ladies downstairs. These women, wonderful, beautiful hands, so talented, have been cooking, preparing for all of you to come for 3 weeks. I give them so much credit, and I can't thank you enough, and I know Rick knows, no matter what they say. Well, I'm going to tell you about the first time I met Rick, because a lot of you don't know. If, I don't know, Cass Amaker, I heard he's here today, Larry, Scott, some of you. Rick was out-of-work carpenter, and I needed a doghouse built. So one day, he pulled up in my driveway. And as we talked, I told Rick that I was a Christian. And he told me he was a Rickcist. And sometimes he started coming over more. He'd come over and stop by and visit, and sometimes he'd have one of his uniform work shirts on. And where the name tag would be, it said animal. Once in a while, on my nights off, Rick would throw back a couple beers and come knocking on my door and say that he wanted me to tell him about God. Lynn, wherever you are, a little later, after I'd told him a few times, we married. Rick had asked Jesus into his heart that week. And then the first few years, 3, were pretty wild. When Sarah was born, it was a real wake-up call to Rick that it was time to get serious about life. And then next came Matthew and then Lucas. At that point, hold on a minute. At that point, Rick realized that he needed some help figuring out this new life called marriage. And Rick asked Jesus into his heart. I didn't know it for a few days, and I knew something had changed, for real. And when I asked him about it, he said, oh yeah, I did that the other morning when I was shaving and looking in the mirror. And that's how he was. And there he went on with his life. So, after he did that, he started Mapes Enterprises, and we started to live the abundant life that God promises for the next 40 years. The one job that Rick loved most was not really a job to him, but a passion. And I know a lot of you know what that was, falling trees, and the bigger the better. Another passion was snowmobiling. He loved all things that made noise and belched smoke, but snowmobiles were his special favorite. And still, he would talk about it. Years later, his favorite people to ride with were Matthew, Lucas, and his daughter Sarah. And they have some pretty epic adventure stories to tell. Rick loved riding with Scott Swift and some of his other friends. And see Scott Swift afterwards for one of my favorite adventure stories. It's a Top Gun story. Anyway, most of all, Rick loved God and the beautiful, wonderful family that God gave him. In Numbers 14:24, God said, my servant Caleb has a different spirit. I believe that God would say his servant Rick has a different spirit, a warrior spirit. Rick has passed that different spirit on to Sarah, Matthew, and Lucas. They're all stunningly skilled and capable. And their families, they and their families are the treasure and the gold of his life. When Rick and I started down this last road full of the unknowns, I told him, we're going to laugh our way through this. It's the only way that we're going to make it to the end. The best things we ever did, we started, when our marriage started to flourish, was to commit to pray every morning. Even if it was 1 or 2, 3 in the morning and he was going out for another 12, 18-hour plow day, he would come in and we would pray. And always for the work, his safety, our children, his beautiful grandchildren, we were so fortunate to have them come along. And as I said before, the other thing we did that was so important to us, we found something, actually many things to laugh about every day. So that's about all I want to say right now because we wanted to hear from all of you people today. We're so honored you're here. Everyone has a special memory or story that's unique to you. And we just want to know how much we love you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jamie.